Well, we've done a couple videos today already. I've done one with the hat backwards. I did one with the hat forwards, just like this. Now I'm thinking I might even take the hat off. Who knows? I hope you ate your Wheaties because we've got earnings from 3 companies, one of which actually makes Wheaties. I'm Cody from Wall Street Breakdown. I thank you again for joining us here on what is a beautiful Wednesday afternoon. General Mills reported earnings today. 82 cents a share was in line with the street. Revenues of $4.2 billion beat the street by $110 million, and that revenue number is up 2.2% year over year. Fairly good growth for a company already really well entrenched in just about every marketplace you could imagine them being in. So to see growth of 2.2% in the revenue department always bodes well for a company that's a lot more of a value play than a growth play. You're probably looking for dividend from General Mills a lot more than you're looking for a gain in the actual share price, even though General Mills has been doing fairly well this year. Organic sales up 1% for General Mills. Convenience store and food service volume was up 3%. And the effective tax rate for General Mills, and this is definitely going to play into the following years as we see tax reform, especially corporate tax reform, come into play, was 35.9%. Now, last year, it was only 32.8%. We can imagine that 35.9% number going down a little bit further, maybe back to the 32.8 from 2016, or maybe even lower than that in the coming year. General Mills closed the day at $58.76. That was up 1.96% on the earnings call. General Mills, you better eat your Wheaties. There's no doubt about that. Or you could make me a cake out of some Betty Crocker mix. It doesn't really matter to me, to be honest with you. Moving right along, a Canadian company that probably used to make a cell phone that you owned. I would imagine you probably, well, unless you're a young millennial, you probably owned yourself a Blackberry at one point in time. Do you remember that? I had such high scores on Brick Breaker. I still wish I had that Blackberry. I'm sure I was in the top of the world as far as those scores go. I probably wasn't anywhere close, but it sure felt like it with the amount of hours I had accumulated on it. See, before the iPhone was famous, Blackberry for smartphones was where it was at. Now, BlackBerry has changed their business model almost entirely in the last couple of years. They're basically phasing out any kind of smartphone devices at all, and they've moved on to software and services, which is definitely their growth segment. BlackBerry today had 3 cents for EPS. I know that seems a little low, but they were expected to come in at 0, so 3 cents beat the analyst estimates by 3 cents. That's pretty good, right? They were expected to be nothing. They came in at 3 cents. Not too bad. Earnings, though. Now, again, I want to let you know they're getting out of some segments, right? So when you think about the actual numbers here, when you step out of some segments that do bring in a lot of revenue, that they don't actually translate into profit. Revenue, profit, very big difference. Revenues at $235 million. Beat analyst estimates by $19.5 million, but was down on the year 21.9%. But again, I want to let you know that just because you sell a whole bunch of items for $1, but they cost you 99.9 cents to make, you may make a lot of revenue selling that, but you're not necessarily making a lot of profit. They may have been selling a lot of stuff that brought in revenue. So while the revenue number is down, revenue numbers don't always translate into earnings, right? We all know that already. They reaffirmed guidance over at BlackBerry, and the software and services department, like I said, that they've been transitioning into, made $199 million for them, which was a record for the company. And we expect that as they're transitioning into that phase of their business, much more than the actual smartphones, even though the Brick Breaker is still at the back of my mind. I want that game so bad. Why doesn't my Samsung put it on there? I don't know. They don't have the ball. It was the ball that really made it the thing, right? It was that ball in the center thing. Memories of my first smartphone. BlackBerry closed the day at $12.17. That's pretty good. I don't know if you know where BlackBerry's been trading in the last couple of years, but BlackBerry is definitely making a move back up. That is up on the earnings 11.96%. That is serious growth. Now, we also heard that BlackBerry has signed innumerable amount of commercial contracts out there into the thousands with major corporations, with governments, the U.S. Defense Department, NATO. This is where BlackBerry was always getting their best bit of business from even before. See, their security features were always well ahead of anything that Apple or Samsung or Nokia or anybody else in a previous generation of smartphones were making. That's why you used to see presidents and everybody else walking around holding BlackBerries. It wasn't because they were all addicted to Brick Breaker like I was. It's because BlackBerry was and is still known as one of the more secure software companies out there. So BlackBerry is moving into the right segment because they're able to still hedge all of that stuff and get all the contracts that they want without actually having to make the devices, which cost a lot more money. Finally, the last earnings today is from Winnebago. That's right, if you like doing any kind of camping or you do any kind of traveling or you're retired, you probably own or know somebody that owns an RV or a fifth wheel. Winnebago, in a marketplace where there's a lot of disposable income out there, reported earnings today of 57 cents. That beat the street's estimates by 5 cents. Revenues of $450 million beat analyst estimates by $62.89 million. And that revenue number was up 83.4% on the year. Pump the brakes. 83.4% sounds like a lot, right? And it is. But Winnebago did buy another very large RV company this year, and you're going to see as we go through the statistics why that revenue number is very much skewed because of you bring in a new company, all of a sudden you get all their sales as well, and that skews your revenue number, even though that EPS number is still very good. So over at Winnebago, revenue from the motorized segment, which is what Winnebago definitely specializes in, was down 2.4% year over year. So definitely not up, but their towable segment, which again, really accumulated from their acquisition of this other company, went from $50.2 million last year, it's a small amount, but it's an amount nonetheless, up to $259.7 million. So they got a good 5 times jump when they bought Grand Design RV, that makes some phenomenal looking fifth wheels. I implore you, go ahead and look at Grand Design RV's website, which is still active. It's under the Winnebago name now, but it's Grand Design RV still. Beautiful fifth wheels, big money investment. But I mean, if you're going to travel, why not travel in style, right? Winnebago closed the day at $54.75. Down 4.61%. So with the earnings call, it still wasn't enough to make investors want to go out and buy themselves either an RV or buy an RV stock. Their price to earnings is $24.96 right now. So I think that's probably the thing that has people a little bit gun shy as far as investing in Winnebago. It's a fairly high price to earnings. Regardless of a revenue number that jumped that high, Winnebago is still a company that's very niche. You cost a lot of money to get in, and you definitely don't get a whole lot of return on your investment unless you're somebody out there that uses your RV or fifth wheel to your advantage and gets out camping or gets out traveling on a regular basis. And that takes a whole lot of disposable income and a lot of free time to do. So something that's a lot more geared to the retired community than it is geared to the everyday common man. But still, when you're talking about the industry leader, Winnebago is definitely right among them in the RV segment, and now bringing in Grand Design RV definitely helped bump that revenue. And like I said, beautiful group of fifth wheels. There's no two ways to cut that any other way. That's it's the best. It's the best looking stuff. That's the best. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm Cody from Wall Street Breakdown. I'm going to be done stammering and stuttering about a whole bunch of earnings calls now and get back to wearing my hat. I want you to like, subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what you think. Earnings calls from Winnebago, General Mills, and BlackBerry, a bunch of different segments doing very well, much like yesterday's earnings calls. We thank you for stopping by. Have yourself an outstanding rest of your Wednesday.